The Bible tells us that God created the heavens and the earth, but it never really says why. It's a huge missing piece. And from that missing piece stems other unanswered questions. Questions like, who are we really? And why are we here on earth? The answer to these questions are enormously important. And when you take away an understanding of these fundamentals, a lot of things in the Bible don't quite fit together. Now, does this really matter? And if it does matter, why does it matter to you? What does it have to do with you? Well, if you understand the answer to those questions, there are an enormous amount of things that suddenly start to fit into place and make sense. And it's transformative. It makes such a difference to your life, to the challenges that you face, to how you live your life. A whole bunch of things tumble into place and slot into place with such perfection, such precision, such a beautiful sense of connection that it makes life so much easier to cope with. So today I'm going to talk about some of those things. My name's Hayden Rushworth. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm a Christian. Other people refer to myself and members of my faith as Mormons. It's not really who we are, it's a nickname that we picked up. We'll come on to that in another video. But people will often ask, well, what's the difference between you guys and other Christians? And it's a fair question, because if you understand the differences, this is a really, really important one. And from this difference, a lot of things go like this. So for most Christians, as I understand it, the view of why God created the heavens and the earth essentially is that it was created as a paradise, a place for men to be created, for us to have a happy place to live and to live peacefully and happily because he loves us. And then Adam and Eve came along and messed up the plan and ruined it all, and then Jesus had to come along and rescue us all from Adam and Eve messing things up. And that, in a nutshell, in a very, very massive summary, as I understand it, is how most Christians view why God created the heavens and the earth and why we're here. Our understanding is subtly but significantly different. We don't believe that we're here by accident. We believe that we're here on purpose, that God created this earth as a testing ground and a training ground for us, that this was never meant to be our final destination, but a very, very tiny stepping stone leading to a much more beautiful life. You see, heaven that comes after this, as we'll call it, is far more complex than just a very simplistic kind of sitting on a cloud and playing a harp for all of eternity. Frankly, that would be hell. But we'll come on to that. In order to understand this, I'm not going to talk about the scriptures that we have and the doctrinal references as to why we have these doctrines and these beliefs. I'll come on to that in another video. But today it's suffice to say that God created the heavens and the earth as a training ground, as a testing place. And that we didn't just flare into existence at birth, but that we lived a long time before that. And that God is literally the father of our spirits. So you have a body, and inside your body is you, your spirit. It's the part that thinks and feels and makes decisions and has hopes and dreams and aspirations. That is the real you, and you are a spirit, and you're living inside a physical body, and it's temporary for now. Before you came here, before all of us came here, we were free-thinking, free-acting individuals who knew each other. We were essentially brothers and sisters. We are related because our common father, the father of our spirit, is God himself. Well, that means that you, if you think this through, you're far more important than you realize. In fact, this is not an exaggeration to say, if you had the faintest idea how important you are, if you had the faintest idea how special you are, of your true potential, of who you could really become, and who you were before you came here, it would blow you away. But before we came here, living with God, all of us together, we had progressed to a certain point. You see, central to our existence is the fact that we progress and we strive to progress, and our Father God wanted us to progress. We were never intended to be just stagnant beings who just reach this certain point and we just sit there forever, just blissfully floating around being happy. That isn't happiness. In fact, the word damnation comes from, you think of what, from the word to damn or to be damned. You think of what happens with a stream when you put a dam across it, its progression is halted. So the word damnation means to have your progression stopped and halted. And that's why it's hellish, because imagine playing a video game where you're stuck on the same level for eternity. Fun? Get to play a video game for all of eternity, except it's the same one with no progression? Honestly, that would be hell. So progression is an essential characteristic of our eternal happiness and our eternal joy. And because God is our Father, as our Father, He actually loves us like He really does. And He loves us as any father would. And He wanted us and wants us to progress. Now, we had reached a certain point before we came to earth in our progression where we couldn't get any further. We'd learned everything that we could learn in a safe space. Heaven was like the perfect nursery, all padded and safe and sanitary, and it's not possible to hurt yourself. It's not possible to suffer any kind of inconvenience or sadness or sorrow or pain. And it's like having a child who is cocooned and held up and never learns to walk because they never fall down, because they're not allowed to fall down because that would be painful and that would hurt, and so you don't allow them. You can only progress so much that way. There came a point where it was time for the next stage of our progression, and that meant leaving home for a short time. That meant going, essentially cutting the apron strings, and all of us coming to a place where we could experience pain and suffering and sorrow and heartache and the consequences of ridiculously bad choices. It was so important because we couldn't have any of these things in the pre-mortal life before we came to earth. It was all academic. We needed to know what it really felt like. It's the only way to grow. Painful reality. Like going to the gym, you can't build muscle without resistance, without weights, without something. You can't just go and float and have all your muscles grow and develop strength and stamina and character and resilience. So this earth was created as a space for all of us, his spirit children, lots of individual boys and girls, to come down to earth and have an opportunity to move to the next level by experiencing all these things. And this, by the way, explains why there is so much suffering in the world. It sucks, and it's one of the big questions. If there's a God, why does He allow blah blah? And I get it, I really do. And it does suck, but it's only this life, and it's only a tiny blip in eternity. Because we don't die, we carry on going after this life. This is only a tiny little spot, but what an important tiny little nanosecond in eternity this life is. And so it's really, really important that we were also, and this is where it sucks, because in order for us to experience pain, and the pain of our own choices when they go wrong, as well as the joy of our own great choices when we make wise ones, it was important that everybody's freedom was protected, their freedom to make bad choices. In the pre-existence, our freedom to hurt ourselves and other people was really, really restricted. And this is where we get the freedom to do stupid things. Unfortunately, that means that we bump into each other a lot. We collide with each other. Our stupid choices impact other people, and other people's stupid choices impact us. And it sucks. But my goodness, this is how we learn. To answer the question of this video, why did God create the heavens and the earth? It was so that we could come as a place to be tested and to grow and develop. But there are a bunch of other questions that are starting to spring up. Like, What makes us do stupid things? Whose fault is it? What happens when we do stupid things? Where do we go when we die? Are we still happy? Is there hope? Is it an exciting thing, or are we just stuffed and screwed up? These are important questions, because we've talked about who you really are and where you came from before you were born and why you're here and why God created the heavens and the earth. But what happens next? That's a really important question, and that's the next video.